Park Ho stood in the captain's office with his hands behind his back. He had been called here 10 minutes ago, and for 10 minutes, Captain had not said a single word. The just sat behind his metal desk, his four arms folded across his chest, his reptilian eyes staring at Ho like he was looking at garbage. Ho knew this was not going to be a good conversation. He had worked on the Meridian Star for 3 years. He knew how Captain operated. The captain was not cruel, but he was cold. He followed rules the way other beings followed religion. Every regulation was sacred. Every protocol was law. There was no room for explanation. There was no space for context. The office was small and gray. A single window showed the lights of station outside. Ships moved slowly in the distance. Somewhere out there, life continued normally. But in this room, Ho felt like time had stopped. Finally spoke. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Engineer Park, do you know why you are here?" Ho nodded slowly. "I believe I do, Captain." "Then explain it to me, in your own words." Ho took a breath. 3 days ago, during shore leave, I performed repair work on 2 small shuttles at the lower docks. I used some supplies from our ship. I plan to replace them with my own wages. His eyes narrowed. "You admit this freely?" "Yes, Captain, I'm not hiding anything." "Good, then you understand the violation." Picked up a data pad from his desk. Guild Hauler Regulation 7.3. No crew member shall perform unauthorized work using company resources. No exceptions. No excuses. Ho wanted to explain. He wanted to tell about the frightened children on those shuttles. He wanted to describe the old woman who had been crying because she thought they would be stranded forever. He wanted to talk about the young boy who had looked at him with such fear in his eyes. But he knew would not care. To the captain, rules were rules. The reason behind breaking them did not matter. "Captain," Ho said carefully, "if I could just explain the situation." "There is nothing to explain." Set down the data pad. "You violated regulation. You used ship resources without permission. You performed work for unknown parties. This is not complicated, Engineer Park. This is simple." The shuttles belonged to travelers in trouble. They had no money. They had no way to call for help. I was just trying to. "I do not care," stood up. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, and his 4 arms made him look even more intimidating. "I do not care who they were. I do not care why they needed help. I care about rules. Rules keep this ship running. Rules keep this crew safe. When one person decides that rules do not apply to them, everything falls apart." Ho felt his heart sink. He had known this was coming, but hearing it still hurt. The Meridian Star had been his home for 3 years. The crew had become like family. And now, because he had helped some strangers, he was losing all of it. "You are dismissed from this crew," said. "Effective immediately. Your final wages will be sent to your account. You have 1 hour to collect your belongings and leave this ship." Ho stood there for a moment, not moving. Part of him wanted to argue. Part of him wanted to fight. But he knew it would change nothing. Had made his decision. The captain never changed his mind. "I understand, Captain," Ho said quietly. "I will also be filing a report with the guild," continued. "Your record will show this dismissal. Future employers will know what you did." This was worse. A dismissal was bad enough. But a mark on his guild record could follow him for years. It could make it impossible to find work on any decent ship. "Captain, please," Ho said. "I made a mistake, but—" "You made a choice," corrected. "Choices have consequences. You may leave now." Ho turned and walked out of the office. His legs felt heavy. His chest felt tight. 3 years of hard work, 3 years of loyalty, all gone because he had helped people who needed help. He walked through the corridors of the Meridian Star one last time. The ship was quiet at this hour. Most of the crew was on shore leave, enjoying the station's bars and restaurants. Only a few remained on board. Ho passed the engine room where he had spent so many hours. He had fixed 100 problems in that room. He had kept this ship running through storms and breakdowns and mechanical failures. He had given everything to this job. And now it was over. He reached his quarters and began packing his things. He did not have much. A few sets of clothes, some personal tools, a photograph of his parents back on Earth, a small plant that had somehow survived 3 years in space. As he packed, there was a knock at his door. He opened it to find standing there. She was a young Tellurian, barely 20 years old, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. She had joined the crew 6 months ago, and Ho had helped train her in basic engineering. "I heard what happened," she said softly. "I am so sorry, Ho." He managed a small smile. "It is not your fault. But it is not fair. You were just trying to help people." "Does not see it that way." Looked down at her feet. "Some of us tried to speak to him. We tried to explain that you are a good person, that you would never do anything wrong without a good reason." Ho felt touched by this. "Thank you for trying." It did not help. He would not listen. He never does. Reached into her pocket and pulled out a small package. "I brought you this, some food for your journey. I know you probably do not have much money right now." Ho took the package. His eyes felt wet, but he blinked the tears away. "You did not have to do this. You helped me when I was new and scared. You were kind to me when others were not. This is the least I can do." Ho put a hand on her shoulder. "You are a good person. Do not let this ship change that." He finished packing and walked toward the exit. A few other crew members watched from doorways and corridors. Some looked guilty. Some looked sad. None of them said anything. They could not risk angering the captain. Ho understood. He did not blame them. He walked down the gangway and stepped onto station. The air was different here, recycled and artificial, with a slight chemical smell. The station was busy with traders and travelers and workers moving in all directions. Ho looked back at the Meridian star one last time. Then he turned and walked away. As he moved through the station, he passed a large window that looked out into space. And there, visible through the glass, were 2 small shuttles preparing to depart. They were the same shuttles he had repaired 3 days ago. He had not noticed it before, but now he could see markings on their hulls, symbols he did not recognize, a crest of some kind, elegant and official-looking. The shuttles powered up their engines and flew away into the darkness. Ho watched them go. He did not know who those people were. He did not know where they were going. He only knew that he had helped them and now they were safe. That had to be worth something. He turned away from the window and walked deeper into the station, alone and unemployed, with no idea what would come next. But somewhere in his heart he felt at peace. He had done the right thing. Whatever happened now, that could never be taken away. 3 days before his dismissal, Park Ho had wandered into the lower docks of station, looking for nothing more than a quiet walk. The lower docks were not a nice place. The lights were dim. The air smelled like old fuel and rust. Most station visitors never came down here. This was where the forgotten people gathered. Refugees waiting for transport, traders who had lost their money, travelers whose ships had broken down and who could not afford repairs. Ho liked walking through places like this. It reminded him of where he came from. Before he became an engineer on a cargo ship, he had been poor too. He had known what it felt like to be stuck somewhere with no way out. The corridor opened into a wide bay filled with damaged ships. Small shuttles, cargo pods, personal transports, all sitting dark and silent, waiting for repairs that their owners could not pay for. And then Ho saw them. 2 shuttles sat at the far end of the bay. They were nicer than the others, clearly expensive at one time, but now they were badly damaged. Burn marks covered their hulls. One had a cracked windshield. The other was missing half of its communication array. Around the shuttles, a group of people sat on crates and blankets. Most of them were children, ranging from 5 to 12 years old. There were also a few elderly passengers, wrapped in thin clothes that did nothing to keep out the station's cold air. And standing in the middle of them was a woman. She was tall and elegant, even in her simple clothes. Her face was tired but proud. She spoke quietly with a station mechanic, and from her expression, the conversation was not going well. Ho moved closer, trying not to stare. The mechanic, a heavy with gray skin and small eyes, was shaking his head. I told you the price. 40,000 credits for both ships. That includes parts and labor. I cannot go lower. I understand, the woman said. Her voice was calm, but Ho could hear the desperation beneath it. But I do not have access to that amount right now. If you could wait a few days. Wait, the mechanic laughed. This is not a charity. You want the ships fixed, you pay. No money, no repairs, simple. Please, we have children with us. Elderly people, we cannot stay here. Not my problem. The mechanic turned and walked away. Come back when you have the credits. The woman watched him go. For a moment her composure cracked. Ho saw fear flash across her face, raw and desperate. Then she took a breath and composed herself again. She turned back to her group and spoke softly. We will find another way. Do not worry. But the children looked worried. The elderly looked exhausted. And the woman looked like someone trying very hard not to fall apart. Ho should have walked away. This was not his business. He had his own problems, his own life. Getting involved with strangers was never a good idea. But then a small boy walked up to the woman and tugged on her sleeve. Aunt Hannah, the boy said. He was about 8 years old with messy black hair and big scared eyes. Are we going to be okay? The woman, Hannah, knelt down and put her hands on the boy's shoulders. Of course we are, Min. I promised I would keep you safe, remember. I always keep my promises. The boy nodded, but he did not look convinced. Ho felt something twist in his chest. He remembered being that age. He remembered being scared and lost and wondering if anyone would help. Before he knew what he was doing, he walked over to them. Hannah saw him coming and stepped in front of the boy, protective and suspicious. Can I help you? Maybe I can help you, Ho said. He nodded toward the damaged shuttles. What happened to your ships? Hannah studied him carefully. She was trying to decide if he was a threat. Ho did not blame her. In places like this, trust was a luxury. Iron Storm, she said finally. We got caught in one 2 days ago, lost our guards, lost our communication systems, barely made it here alive. Where are you trying to go? She hesitated. Somewhere safe, that is all I can say. Ho understood. She was running from something or someone. He did not need to know the details. I am an engineer, he said. I work on the cargo hauler Meridian Star. I know ships. I can look at yours if you want. Hannah's expression softened slightly. The mechanic already looked. He wants 40,000 credits. Station mechanics always overcharge, especially down here where they know people are desperate. Ho looked at the shuttles again. Let me take a look. Maybe it is not as bad as he said. Hannah was quiet for a moment, then she nodded. Very well, thank you. Ho spent the next hour examining both shuttles. The damage was serious, but the mechanic had made it sound worse than it was. The power cores were intact. The engines were functional. The main problems were the navigation systems and the communication arrays, both of which had been fried by the Iron Storm. He could fix this. It would take time and parts, but he could do it. He walked back to Hannah, who was waiting with the boy Min beside her. I can repair them, Ho said. Both ships. It will take me 2 nights, maybe 3. I will need some parts, but I can get them. Hannah's eyes widened. How much? Nothing. She stared at him like he had spoken a foreign language. Nothing. Why would you do this for nothing? Ho shrugged. Because you need help, because I can help, that is enough reason. But you do not know us. You do not know who we are or where we are going. I know you have children who are scared and old people who are tired. I know you are stuck here with no way out. I do not need to know more than that. Hana looked at him for a long time. Her eyes were wet. I do not understand people like you. There is nothing to understand. I am just a man who fixes things. He glanced at Min, who was watching him with curiosity instead of fear now. Besides, that little one reminds me of myself at his age, scared and lost and hoping someone would help. Did someone help you? Ho smiled sadly. Eventually, took a long time, but eventually, yes. Hana wiped her eyes. I do not know how to thank you. You do not need to thank me. Just take care of those kids. Get them somewhere safe. Over the next 2 nights, Ho worked on the shuttles. He came during his off hours when he should have been resting. He brought parts from the Meridian Star, planning to replace them later with his own money. He worked quietly and carefully, fixing what was broken, replacing what was destroyed. Hana watched him work sometimes. She brought him food and water. They did not talk much, but there was a comfortable silence between them. On the second night, young Min came and sat beside him as he worked. Why do you help people? The boy asked. Ho thought about the question. Because the galaxy is very big and very cold. And sometimes, the only thing that makes it bearable is when strangers are kind to each other. Were people kind to you? Some were not. I try to be one of the kind ones. Min nodded seriously. I want to be kind too. Ho smiled. Then you already are, little one. On the third night, the repairs were finished. Both shuttles powered up smoothly. The navigation systems worked. The communication arrays were functional. Hana stood before him, her face full of emotion. You have saved us. You do not know what this means. You do not need to explain. Just go, be safe. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small medallion on a thin chain. It was made of silver, with an elegant crest carved into it. Please take this, she said, for luck. Ho hesitated. I cannot accept. Please, it would mean a great deal to me. He took the medallion and put it around his neck. Thank you. Hana smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. No, Ho, thank you. She gathered her people, and they boarded the shuttles. Ho watched as the ships powered up and flew away into the darkness. He never expected to see them again. He never expected to learn who they really were. He was just a man who fixed things. That was enough. 2 weeks after his dismissal, Park Ho sat in a small hostel room on station, counting his remaining credits. The number was not good. He had enough for maybe 5 more days. After that, he would be out on the streets with nowhere to go. Finding work had been impossible. Word traveled fast in the shipping industry. An engineer dismissed for misusing resources was damaged goods. No captain wanted someone who might break rules. No company wanted someone with a mark on their guild record. Ho had applied to 14 ships in the past 2 weeks. 14 rejections. Some captains were polite about it. Others were not. One had laughed in his face and told him to try the garbage collection cruise. The hostel room was tiny, barely big enough for a bed and a small desk. The walls were gray metal, covered in scratches and stains from previous guests. A single light flickered overhead, buzzing constantly like an angry insect. Ho lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The medallion Hana had given him hung around his neck, resting against his chest. He touched it sometimes, running his fingers over the carved crest. He did not know what the symbol meant. He had not bothered to look it up. It did not matter anyway. The medallion would not pay his bills. It would not find him work. It was just a piece of metal from a stranger he would never see again. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep. A loud knock on the door woke him. Ho sat up quickly, confused. He did not know anyone on this station. No one knew he was here, who would be knocking on his door. He got up and opened it. 2 figures stood in the hallway. They were tall and elegant, dressed in formal uniforms of deep blue with silver trim. Their posture was perfect, their expression serious. Behind them stood 4 guards in armor, hands resting on weapons. Ho's heart beat faster. This did not look good. "Park Ho?" the first figure asked. He was older with gray hair and sharp eyes. His voice was formal and cold. "Yes, that is me. I am First Secretary Morin, diplomatic to the sovereign houses of. You will come with us." Ho felt his mouth go dry. The sovereign houses of, even someone like him had heard of them. They were one of the most powerful families in the entire sector. Their influence stretched across dozens of systems. Their wealth was beyond imagination. "I do not understand," Ho said. "Why do you want me? I have not done anything." Morin's expression did not change. "You are not in trouble, quite the opposite. The High Sovereign wishes to speak with you personally." "The High Sovereign? Why would?" "All will be explained. Please come with us, now." It was not a request. Ho could see that clearly. The guards shifted slightly, ready to act if he refused. He grabbed his jacket and followed them. They led him through the station, past the commercial areas and into sections he had never seen before. Private docking bays reserved for diplomats and nobles, places where ordinary people were not allowed. A shuttle waited for them, sleek and beautiful, with the same crest carved into its hull, the same crest that was on Ho's medallion. He touched the medallion through his shirt, suddenly understanding. The shuttle took them up through the station's atmosphere shields and into open space. Through the window, Ho saw their destination, a massive ship unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a diplomatic cruiser, enormous and graceful, covered in lights that made it glow like a star. The name was written on its side in elegant script, "Light of 10,000 Stars." Ho had worked on ships his entire adult life. He had seen cargo haulers and military frigates and passenger liners, but he had never seen anything like this. It was not just a ship, it was a floating palace. The shuttle docked smoothly, and Morin led him through corridors of polished metal and soft carpets. Artwork hung on the walls. Servants in fine clothes bowed as they passed. Everything smelled like flowers and expensive perfume. Ho felt completely out of place. His clothes were old and worn. His boots were scuffed. He was a common engineer, a man who fixed broken machines for a living. He did not belong in a place like this. They entered a large room filled with light. Windows covered an entire wall, showing the stars outside in all their glory. Chairs and tables were arranged in elegant patterns. Plants grew in beautiful pots, green and healthy. And at the center of it all, sitting on a raised platform, was a woman he recognized. "If I know." But she was not the tired, frightened woman he had met in the lower docks. She was transformed. She wore robes of deep purple and gold, covered in symbols of authority. Her hair was arranged in an elaborate style, held in place by pins that sparkled with jewels. She sat straight and tall, radiating power and confidence. Beside her stood young Min, also dressed in fine clothes. He looked healthier than before, less frightened. When he saw Ho, his face lit up with a huge smile. "The fixing man," he shouted, and before anyone could stop him, he ran down from the platform and threw his arms around Ho's waist. Ho stood frozen, completely confused. Around him, guards looked uncomfortable. Morin cleared his throat disapprovingly, but Hana just smiled. "Let him be," she said. Her voice was different now, more commanding, but the warmth was still there. "Min has been asking about our friend for weeks." Ho gently patted the boy's back. "Hello, little one, you look well." "I am. We made it home safely, because of you." Hana rose from her seat and walked down to meet them. Up close, Ho could see that she was wearing his medallion around her neck. No, wait. She was wearing an identical one. The medallion she had given him matched hers perfectly. "Park Ho," she said formally. "Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am High Sovereign Hana, ruler of House, one of the 3 governing families of." Ho felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. High Sovereign. one of the most powerful people in the sector, and he had fixed her ships in a dirty repair bay while she sat on a crate and watched. I did not know, he managed to say. Of course you did not, that was the point. Hana gestured for him to sit. Please, let me explain everything. She told him the whole story. She and Min had been traveling in secret, fleeing an assassination attempt. Enemies of her house had tried to kill them. They had escaped, but their ships were damaged, their guards were dead, and they were stranded with no way to call for help. If we had used official channels, the assassins would have found us, Hana explained. We had to stay hidden. We had to survive on our own. And then I showed up, Ho said slowly. And then you showed up, Hana smiled. A stranger with no reason to help us, a man who asked nothing in return. You saved our lives, Ho. You saved the future of my house. Ho shook his head. I just fixed your ships. Anyone could have done that. No, not anyone. The mechanic demanded payment we could not give. Others walked past without looking. You were the only one who stopped. You were the only one who cared. Min climbed onto the seat beside Ho. Aunt Hana says you are a hero. Ho looked at the boy's innocent face. I am not a hero. I am just an engineer. Sometimes, Hana said quietly, those are the same thing. She told him what would have happened if he had not helped. The assassins had been tracking them. If they had been stuck on that station one more day, they would have been found. Hana and Min would be dead. The political balance of the entire sector would have collapsed. There would have been war, Hana said. Millions would have died, all because of a power struggle in my family. Ho felt sick. He had not known any of this. He had just seen people who needed help and decided to help them. I owe you more than I can ever repay, Hana said, and I intend to try. Ho looked around at the luxury surrounding him, at the guards and servants and priceless artwork, at the woman who ruled an empire and the boy who would inherit it. He touched the medallion around his neck. I did not help you for payment, he said. Hana nodded. I know, that is exactly why you deserve it. Park Ho sat in the grand room aboard the light of 10,000 stars, surrounded by more wealth and power than he had ever seen in his life. High Sovereign Hana sat across from him, her nephew Min curled up on the couch beside her, watching Ho with admiring eyes. Servants brought food and drinks on silver trays. The food was unlike anything Ho had ever tasted. Fresh vegetables, real meat, fruits from distant planets. On cargo ships, meals came from packets and containers. This was something else entirely. Please eat, Hana said. You look like you have not had a proper meal in weeks. She was right. The hostel on station did not include food. Ho had been living on cheap protein bars and water, but he felt uncomfortable eating like this while a sovereign watched him. I am fine, he said. You are stubborn, Hana replied with a small smile. Eat, that is an order from your sovereign. Ho looked at her. With respect, you are not my sovereign, I am from Earth. I do not belong to any house. Hana's smile grew. And that is exactly why I like you. You do not bow, you do not flatter, you simply speak truth. She waved her hand, and the servants quietly left the room. The guards remained at the doors, but they moved back to give them privacy. I want to tell you something, Hana said. Something I have not told many people. Ho waited. When we were stranded on that station, I was more afraid than I have ever been in my life. Not for myself, for Min. She looked at her nephew with love in her eyes. He is all I have left of my sister. She died 3 years ago. I promised her I would protect him. And there we were, trapped, hunted with no way out. I am sorry, Ho said softly. When you appeared, I did not trust you. I thought you might be an assassin pretending to be helpful. I watched you the entire time you worked, looking for signs of betrayal. I noticed. Hana laughed quietly. Of course you did, but you never said anything. You never asked why I was watching. You just kept working. It was not my business to ask. Exactly. You helped without conditions, without questions, without expectations. Hana leaned forward. Do you know how rare that is? In my world, everyone wants something. Every kindness comes with a price. Every gift comes with strings attached. Ho thought about this. He supposed she was right. In her position, surrounded by politics and power, trust must be a rare thing. I grew up poor, he said. On Earth, in a small town that nobody cared about. When you have nothing, you learn that sometimes the only thing you can give is help. It does not cost anything to be kind. It costs you your job. He shrugged. Jobs can be replaced, people cannot. Min had been listening quietly. Now he spoke up. Uncle Ho, will you stay with us? You could live here on the ship. It would be so much fun. Ho felt a strange warmth at being called uncle, but he shook his head. That is very kind, little one, but this is not my world. Hana nodded slowly. I expected you might say that, but I must try. She stood up and walked to a window looking out at the stars. I want to offer you a reward for what you did. Anything you want, name it and it is yours. I do not want a reward. I know, but I am offering one anyway. You saved the heir to house. You prevented a war that would have killed millions. Surely there is something I can give you. Ho thought for a long moment. There were many things he could ask for. Money, a house, a ship of his own. With the backing of house, he could live in comfort for the rest of his life. But none of those things felt right. If you truly want to give me something, he said slowly, then give me back my reputation. Hana turned to look at him. Captain filed a report with the guild. It says I misused company resources. That report will follow me forever. It will make it impossible to work as an engineer anywhere respectable. That seems like a small request for someone who saved a sovereign. It is not small to me. Being an engineer is not just what I do. It is who I am. I fix things. That is my purpose. Without that, I do not know who I would be. Hana studied him with new respect. You could have asked for wealth, power, position. Instead, you ask only to continue doing honest work. Is that strange? It is remarkable. Hana walked back to her seat. Very well. I will have your guild record corrected, more than corrected. You will have a commendation from the sovereign houses themselves. No captain will ever question your character again. Ho felt relief wash through him. Thank you. There is more. I am sending a personal message to Captain, explaining exactly whose ships you repaired. I am explaining what would have happened if you had not helped us. I want him to understand what his rigid rules almost caused. Ho thought about reading that message. The proud captain, who valued rules above everything, learning that his dismissal of a loyal engineer had almost led to war and death. That seems harsh, Ho said. It seems fair. Actions have consequences. He was so quick to punish you without listening. Now he will learn the truth whether he wants to or not. Ho could not argue with her logic. Is there anything else? Hana asked. Surely there must be something more I can give you. Ho thought about the young Tellurian who had shown him kindness when everyone else stayed silent. The girl who had brought him food and apologized for things that were not her fault. There is a young woman on the Meridian Star, he said. Her name is. She is training to be an engineer, but that ship is not a good place for her. The captain is cold and the crew is afraid. What would you have me do? Offer her an opportunity, an apprenticeship somewhere better, a chance to learn and grow without fear. Hana smiled. You ask for nothing for yourself, but you ask for kindness for others. She showed me kindness when she did not have to. She deserves good things. Then she will have them. I will personally ensure she receives an offer she cannot refuse. Min had fallen asleep on the couch, tired from the excitement of the day. Hana looked at him with tender eyes. You know, she said quietly, when Min grows up, he will rule one of the most powerful houses in the sector. He will control armies and economies. People will bow before him and call him master. Ho watched the sleeping boy. But I do not want him to become like the others, Hana continued. Cold and calculating, seeing people as tools to be used. I want him to remember what you taught him. What did I teach him? That kindness needs no reason, that helping others is its own reward, that a man with nothing can still give everything. She looked at Ho. You have given him a gift more valuable than gold. You have given him an example of what goodness looks like. Ho felt embarrassed by these words. He was not used to praise. He was not used to being called an example of anything. I just fixed some ships, he said. You fixed more than ships, Park Ho. You fixed my faith in people. Hana reached out and took his hand. Whatever happens next, whatever you choose to do, know that Ho stands with you, now and always. Ho looked at this powerful woman, this ruler of worlds, holding his rough engineer's hand like he was someone important. Thank you, he said, for everything. No, Hana replied. Thank you for being exactly who you are. The next morning, Ho returned to station with his reputation restored and his future open before him. He carried Hana's medallion around his neck and her words in his heart. He was just an engineer, a man who fixed things. But maybe sometimes that was enough to change the world. 1 month had passed since Park Ho's meeting with High Sovereign Hana. In that month, everything had changed. Word spread quickly through station. The engineer who had been dismissed in disgrace was actually a hero. He had saved the life of a sovereign and her heir. He had prevented a war. The guild had not just cleared his record, they had given him their highest commendation. His name was spoken with respect in places where it had once been spoken with pity. Captain had received Hana's message. Ho never learned exactly what it said, but he heard rumors. Some said had gone pale when he read it. Others said he had locked himself in his cabin for 3 days. When he finally emerged, he had sent a message to Ho, asking him to return to the Meridian Star as chief engineer with double his former salary. Ho had politely declined. He had other plans now. The lower docks of station were just as dirty and forgotten as they had been a month ago. The same damaged ships sat in the same repair bays. The same refugees and travelers waited in the same dark corridors, hopping for help that never came. But now there was a small shop at the far end of the bay. A hand-painted sign hung above the door, Park Repairs, all work welcome, fair prices for everyone. Ho had used the last of his savings to rent the space. It was not much, a single room with a workbench, some tools, and a cot in the corner for sleeping, but it was his. For the first time in his life, he worked for himself. He did not charge the rich rates that station mechanics demanded. He worked with people who could not pay much. Sometimes he worked for free. Sometimes payment came in the form of food or help or simply a thank you. It was not a path to wealth, but Ho had never cared about wealth. 3 weeks after he arrived. She stood in his doorway with a bag over her shoulder and a nervous smile on her face. She had left the Meridian Star. Hana's offer had come through, a position at a prestigious engineering academy in the core systems, but had turned it down. I thought about it for a long time, she explained, sitting on a crate while Ho worked on a broken fuel pump. The academy would have been amazing. I would have learned so much, but it did not feel right. Why not? Because that is not the kind of engineer I want to be. Looked around the small shop. I want to be like you. I want to help people who need it most. I want to fix things that matter. Ho set down his tools. This is not a glamorous life. The pay is small. The work is hard. You will never be famous or rich. I know. You could do so much more with your talents. Maybe, but I do not want more. I want this. She met his eyes. Will you teach me? Ho looked at this young woman who had given up everything comfortable to follow a path that most would call foolish. He saw himself in her, young and idealistic and believing that kindness mattered. Are you sure? He asked. I have never been more sure of anything. He handed her a wrench. Then get to work, that fuel pump will not fix itself. Grinned and took the tool. They worked together through the afternoon, and Ho found that teaching came naturally to him. He showed her techniques he had learned over years of experience. He explained the philosophy behind his work. Fix the problem, not the symptom. Listen to the machine and it will tell you what is wrong. Never rush. Never cut corners. Do it right the first time. As evening fell, a new customer arrived. It was a trader, tall and thin with dark green skin and wide, frightened eyes. Behind her stood two children, both young, both clearly exhausted. They looked like they had not slept in days. "Please," the trader said, her voice was desperate. "My ship is broken. I have been stuck here for a week. I have no money. The mechanics will not help me." Ho wiped his hands on a rag and walked over to her. "What is wrong with your ship?" "The engine keeps shutting down. I do not know why. Every time I try to leave, it dies after a few minutes." "Have you eaten today?" The question surprised her. "What? You and your children, have you eaten?" The trader looked down. "Not since yesterday." Ho turned to. "There is food in the cabinet, bread and some fruit. Give them something to eat." Nodded and led the children to the back of the shop. The trader watched them go, her eyes filling with tears. "Why are you being kind to us?" she asked. "You do not know us." Ho picked up his toolkit. "I do not need to know you. You need help. I can help. That is enough." He walked with her to the repair bay where her ship sat dark and silent. It was a small cargo vessel, old but well-maintained. Someone had taken good care of this ship before things went wrong. Ho climbed inside and began his examination. It did not take long to find the problem. A power coupling had failed, causing the engine to shut down when it reached a certain temperature. It was an easy fix if you knew what to look for. He worked through the evening, replacing the damaged part and checking the rest of the systems. The trader sat nearby, watching him with amazement. "The station mechanics wanted 5,000 credits," she said. "I told them I did not have it. They laughed at me." "Station mechanics care about profit. I care about people." "But you have to make a living too." Ho finished his work and closed up the engine panel. "I have what I need. A roof over my head, food to eat, work that matters. What more does anyone really need?" He powered up the ship systems. Everything came online smoothly. The engine hummed with healthy energy. "It is fixed," he said. "You should be able to make your journey now." The trader stood up, tears running down her face. "I cannot pay you. I have nothing." "Then pay me when you can, or do not pay me at all. Help someone else when you have the chance. That is payment enough." She grabbed his hand and held it tightly. "I will never forget this. Never." "I hope you do forget. I hope your life becomes so good that this moment is just a small memory." The trader gathered her children and boarded her ship. They waved goodbye through the window as the vessel powered up and flew away into the darkness. Ho watched them go. Came to stand beside him. "You did not charge her anything." "No." "How do you plan to keep the shop running if you do not charge people?" Ho smiled. "I do not know, but I figure the universe has a way of balancing things out. If you put good into the world, good comes back to you." "Is that true?" He touched the medallion around his neck. Hana's gift, a reminder of what simple kindness could become. "It has been true for me so far." They walked back to the shop together as the station lights dimmed for evening. Another day was ending. Another day of small repairs and quiet kindness. Ho did not know what the future would bring. He did not know if his shop would succeed or fail. He did not know if he would ever see Hana or Min again. He did not know if the universe would keep balancing things out. But he knew who he was. He was an engineer, a man who fixed things. And in a galaxy that was often cold and cruel, that was something worth being. The stars outside the station window burned bright and eternal, watching over all the small lives below. And among those lives, one human continued to do what humans did best. He chose to be kind, again and again and again. Because in the end, that was all anyone could do, and sometimes that was enough to change everything.